Hello, everyone. So as we wait for some of your classmates to join, work on that poll. So just take a few minutes, try to calculate a few things. So the first one is how many instructions can a 68 megahertz processor perform in 1 second? So most of you got it right. That is 16 million, yeah, because kilo is 1,000, mega is a million. So 16 million instructions in 1 second. And then how long will it take an 8-bit 16 megahertz processor to execute an 8 kilobyte program? So we have, most of you have selected 625 milliseconds, and the first time I calculated it, I found it was 62.5. I think I need to, anyway, so let me see if we can do it here with you guys. So we have, so the processor is, it's an 8-bit processor. So that means in 1 second, it will perform 8 bits times 16 million. So in 1 second, it will perform, so this should be 128. Or bits, okay? So it will perform 128,000 bits in 1 second. So the question is, what about 8 kilobytes? So 8 kilobytes, so that is 8 times 1,000. Then a byte has how many bits? Should be 1 byte is equivalent to 8 bits, I think. So that should give us 16,000. So if it takes 1 second to execute 128 million bits, how long will it take to execute 16,000 bits? Okay. Okay, see, Isaac has already calculated. How can I remove this thing?
No, it's actually just a correction. It's supposed to be 64,000 bits instead of 16,000 bits because 8 times 8 is 64.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so this should be 64. Correct. Okay. Okay, clear. Yeah, so it should be 64. So 64,000. So you divide this by 128 million. So what do you get? Let me see. Divide by 128. 1, 2, 3. So I have 0.0005. Yes. So if you multiply this by 1,000, you have 0.5 seconds. 0.5 milliseconds. Okay. So it will take So actually, so this is equivalent to 0.5 milliseconds. So I made a mistake in my calculation. So in my calculation, I forgot to add, I forgot that 1 byte is equivalent to 8 bits. So anyway, I hope you guys have gotten the whole idea. Okay, so I think we can start. Any question before I start, or anything that's not clear? Okay, so today we are going to cover 2 things, yeah? So the Arduino microcontroller and the Node-RED microcontroller. So these are tools. So today's class is basically, I'm just going to take you through tools that you can use to design an IoT application or an embedded system application. So there are many microcontrollers. I chose Arduino because for beginners, it's the easiest to work with. So Arduino is the easiest to work with. So that's why I chose Arduino. So Calvin Ngumo is asking if a microcontroller can multitask. I remember I asked that question and you never answered, so I'm not going to answer it either. Anyway, so I chose Arduino because, yeah, as I said, it's the easiest for beginners to learn. So I don't know if maybe most of you in this class like to work with sensors and microcontrollers, so maybe they've already familiarized themselves with Arduino. But for those who have never done anything to do with microcontrollers, Arduino is the best place to start. And because it's easy to work with, everything is almost straightforward. But as we progress with the course, I think we'll work with more microcontrollers. So for today, I just want to introduce the Arduino. Then we'll get to Node-RED. So Node-RED is basically for helping you virtually design your system and actually test or simulate it. So when we get there, we'll see. So an Arduino is basically a programmable hardware. So it's a microcontroller. And then it has a special bootloader. So you'll hear of a thing known as a sketch. So a sketch is sort of like an IDE. So it allows you to write your program and then you upload it. So that is what is known as a bootloader. Once you written a program, you upload it to the Arduino microcontroller you're working with, and then it will execute that code. Okay, so the code is usually in C. So start familiarizing yourself with writing C programs if you want to work with Arduino. And then, so we'll go to the website. So for now, I just want to explain a few things. So you'll hear of a board. So a board is basically a microcontroller. So remember, a microcontroller had the 5 things. So it has a CPU, input, output, it has RAM, ROM. Okay, so a board like an Arduino will have all those 5 components. Then you have a shield. So in the website, you'll see a board, you'll see a shield. So a shield is something that adds more capability to a board. So a board, for example, just has the processing ability. Maybe you want that board to connect to a Wi-Fi, then you need to add a Wi-Fi shield. You want it to connect to a GSM, maybe you want to send text messages, you buy a GSM shield, and then you plug it on top. So that is how it works, yeah? Then Sketch, as I've mentioned, this is a program. So this is where you'll be writing your program. How you want your board to behave, what you want it to achieve, what you want it to perform. You'll write it inside the Sketch, and then you upload to the board, not the shield, the board, yeah? Then it will execute it. Then you have sensors. So there are many sensors. I'll go over the website, you'll see it. Then for sensors, there are 2 types of sensors. There are digital sensors and there are analog sensors. So you need to differentiate the 2. I think we'll have a class where we'll go through sensors. But for now, just know that the Arduino, for the input and output, it will allow you to have a digital input and an analog input. So depending on the type of sensor you're dealing with, if it's digital, you have to know before you actually connect it. So there are many Arduino flavors. So these are just microcontrollers. Yeah. So Uno is the most basic and the most popular because it's cheaper, but it's less powerful. Yeah. Then there's Leonardo, Lilipad. Lilipad is the smallest, so you can even it's usually even used for in the textile industry. So for example, you want to, because it's very light, you can even attach it to a cloth, and then you can sense things from the cloth and do whatever you want to do with that data. So these are just examples of Arduino boards. So depending on the application, you pick one. So we'll look at a few, look at the specs. Then these are the add-ons, the shields. Okay, so you can add the touch screen, servo motor, Ethernet, audio. Okay, so these are just shields. So depending on the application you want to achieve, you buy the shield that you want. So if you want maybe to connect to a GSM network, you buy a GSM shield. Okay, and then you plug it on top of your board. Okay, so this is how the board looks like. So this USB plug is where after you've written your sketch, you'll use this to upload. You'll upload your general purpose. So no, Arduino is not a general purpose. Okay, the reason is because when you have your sketch, you realize that in that sketch you have to specify. You see that you're writing like a program that will perform a specific function. So Arduino does not have an operating system. So there is no way it can be a general purpose microcontroller. But maybe as they progress the technology, maybe they'll get to that stage where it has an OS. There are other microcontrollers, for example, like Raspberry Pi. That is a general purpose microcontroller because it comes with a lightweight Linux operating system. So whatever you can do on your Linux computer, you can do on that microcontroller. So that is a general purpose microcontroller. But for Arduino, as far as I know, it's not a general purpose microcontroller. So I hope I've answered your question, Stephen. Okay, so then you have the analog pins here. Then you have the digital. Okay, then you have the serial out. Then this is the reset button. So once you've uploaded your program, if you want it to restart, you click on this button. Okay, then you have the power. So you have two sources of power. So these ones are output. Okay, so if you want the Arduino to be a source of power to maybe another component, you have a 3.3 power source or a 5 volts power source. Okay, and this is how you power the Arduino. Then this is the microcontroller it's using. Okay, at Mega 328. Okay, so you realize that most microcontrollers have all these. The only difference will be the microcontroller. So this microcontroller, as you can see, these are pins on the sides. So if you are able to, once you get a physical Arduino, if you're able to turn it around, you'll see that all these pins here are just extensions of these pins here. Okay, so this is the one that has all this small chip here has a CPU, it has input, output, and everything. Okay, so it's just connected to all these. So it's connected to this, it's connected to this. So this board just connects these to all these. Okay, so that you have a bigger interface to work with. Okay, so the most important thing here is this at Mega. This is the microcontroller itself. This is just extensions to help you have a better interface. Stephen is asking a question I don't understand due to the various shield extension that it supports. No. So it's not here. I think I've gotten the question. So these are the features. We look at them. So this is for Uno. So they are different. So different flavors have different capabilities. So for the Arduino Uno, so it's an 8-bit. So as you can see, it's a RISC architecture. So I hope you remember the difference between RISC and CISC, okay? Then you need to pay close attention to the voltage. So if it's 5 volts, please, when you're doing your circuit, when you're connecting your components, make sure you don't do under voltage or over voltage because you'll burn this microcontroller. So make sure you feed it to a 5 volts power source, okay? So it has 14 digital pins. It has 6 analog pins. Then these are the outputs, okay? Then this is the flash memory, 32 KB, okay? So I think this is where you'll be, when you load your program, it will be stored here. Then look at the clock speed, 16 megahertz, okay? 16 megahertz. So we have a question here. Controllers can match through concurrency and support. Daniel Gitao is telling you guys, oh, it's me. Anyway, we'll look at that later. So it has 16 megahertz, okay? So for example, let's go to the website here. So I want you guys to, so if you go to the website, there are 2 places I want you guys to maybe try. So first of all, the products. So these are the shields that are available. So Uno is here. So anytime you want to buy something, for example, if it's Uno, always go to the technical specs, okay? So this is where you want to see. So this is the microcontroller, 5 volts, okay? This is the flash memory, and you can see it's 16 megahertz. So this is the power. This basically tells you how powerful this microcontroller is, okay? If you go to another, maybe this one, Leonardo, if you go to the specs, so this is, it has a different microprocessor, okay? Clock speed is still 16. I want to look for another one that's more powerful, maybe. Which one is more powerful? Let me look at these. So you can look at this. This one has a 32 megahertz clock speed. So you can see the flash memory is 196. So it's this microcontroller is very Intel. It's very powerful. So depending on your application, you need to look. So there's no need to buy such a powerful one if you know you're not going to utilize most of this power. Okay. So always go to the technical specs before you buy, so that you know I need this amount and I want, so if you want a nano, it's smaller. So this one is smaller, as you can see, but which is the power. So always when you're doing your design, make sure you understand what you're working with, okay? So this one is very powerful and small, okay? So 20 megahertz, and it's small, okay? So that is for the different types. Then these are the shields, okay? So you want your Arduino to connect maybe to something else, you add a shield on top. So these ones are usually plugged on top of the Arduino, okay? So for example, a motor shield you have here, proto shield, okay? Wi-Fi and everything. So these ones, initially, these ones were called modules, so the IoT things. So this one already, so for example, instead of buying 2 things, so here, for example, let's say you want, this is a memory shield. So you want to add more memory. You have your board, and then you want it to have more memory, okay? For example, you want to add 2 MB to it. You'll have to buy 2 things, okay? The board, and then this shield, and then you put it on, you plug it on top of your Arduino. So instead of doing that, you can buy this IoT, or is it? IoT, Internet of Things. So these ones, previously, back in the days, it was called modules. So it allows, it is one component that has two capabilities. For example, this one. So it has, for example, a board and a Wi-Fi capability, okay? So one board, it can even connect. So if you don't want to buy two things, then you can buy one, and then you're able to actually just do two things at the same time, okay? So you can see now it has more specification, antenna power, frequency. So these ones were not in the UNO. So this is, so you see what you can work with here. And this is the clock speed, okay? So still depend on the application. Then if you just want to do, so this is for education, you just want to learn, you can buy a starter kit. So usually what Strathmore does is it gives this starter kit. So this is for classroom. So it comes with an Arduino board, a few sensors. So it just comes with a number of components. So it allows you to work around it, try new things. So it has sensors. It's just a starter kit. So it helps you to just, if you have no specific idea or a specific design in mind, you can just buy these kits, okay? Then these ones are other products. So LilyPad, you can see very small, a very small microcontroller, but it has, so if you look at the specs, so flash memory, it's an 8, so it's small, but also it compromises on the clock speed, so it's not as powerful, yeah? So you use it to maybe perform lighter tasks, okay? Then there's also something else I want you guys to look at. These products, resources, let me see. Education. So I think Arduino has a way of they've launched a virtual platform. That's what I'm trying to look at here. They've launched a virtual platform. Yeah, this one. So it allows you to basically try to create your application virtually and test it, I think, before you do anything. So maybe you can try to, this Arduino web editor, you can try to sign up and just play around with it, okay? So you just sign up and just play around with it, see what you can do, learn a few things. Because what I want you guys to understand is, for now, I want you guys to familiarize yourself with these components. Try to do basic things, just a microcontroller that can connect to a sensor, and then maybe an output and something. So that by the end of the class, I want you guys to be able to design an IoT application or an embedded system application that can analyze something or learn a pattern from a sensor data, or can extract patterns, okay? So maybe it can realize that this data is coming, it has sensor data that's coming maybe after every 1 second, and then from that, it can learn that maybe something happens every day at 9 a.m., something like that. So by the end of the class, I want you guys to design high-end applications. So for now, that's why I'm trying to introduce these things, so that you can try to start familiarizing yourself so that you understand these things, okay? So if you've never heard of microcontrollers, Arduino is the best place to start. Try to learn how it works. There are many videos. Try to do this virtual, sign up, try to do something about it, and learn as much as possible, okay? Then the next thing is I want to look at is the Node-RED, okay? So this one, this is a web, so it's a designing tool. It's a software that you use to design IoT applications, okay? So it's an editor. So it uses the drag and drop. So you want a component, you drag it and drop, okay? So for example, this is it. Let me see if I can share a video so at least to get see if I can share a video of this. So
Hi, my name's Nick O'Leary and I work
video?
for IBM's Emerging Technologies Group. And I want to give you a quick introduction to a tool we've created called Node-RED. Node-RED is a visual tool for wiring together the Internet of Things. We recognise the fact that IoT solutions combine streams of data from many different sources, whether it's physical events in the real world, whether it's digital events, social events, whatever it may be. And having tools that let you really quickly combine those streams in different ways to explore what you can do with them is a really powerful tool to have. When you start Node-RED, you get this view in your web browser. With its palette of nodes down the left-hand side, you can quickly start dragging nodes on, wiring them together, and hitting deploy to create your application. Here is a very simple application with an inject node and a debug node that whenever I hit the inject, a message appears in the debug pane. And it's these building blocks you can start creating your own applications from. Here I've got a node that knows how to talk to the Twitter API. It walks me through authenticating the node against my account. And I'm going to tell the node to look for any tweets mentioning the hashtag FridayFeeling. But because I want to do something with those tweets, I can drag in a node for a Mongo database instance, and I just wire the Twitter node into the Mongo node. I configure the Mongo node to connect to a local database I have running. Again, without a single line of code written. I'm going just to save the tweets into a collection. I hit deploy. That's now collecting tweets in real time. You can see in the debug because the Twitter node's wired into the debug node, but they're also being saved into a database. Node-RED lets you create web APIs. Here I'm dragging on some HTTP nodes because I want to serve up a web page. The HTTP nodes, a template node, and a Mongo query node. As I wire those together, I tell the HTTP node to listen for GET requests on the URL /tweets. The Mongo query node, again pointed at the same database, the same collection, just do its default search to return all the data in that collection. And a template node that lets me generate some richer content that takes the message it's received and renders it somehow. That then wired to an HTTP response node, so when in a new tab I open up the URL of Node-RED followed by /tweets, it then gives me every tweet that's been saved into the Mongo database. So we've stored some data and we've retrieved it and we're starting to present it back without a single line of code written. Now we're going to do something a bit more with those tweets. Here I drag in and drop into the wire a sentiment analysis node. This is very simple sentiment analysis of the tweets, giving it a positive or negative score based on the words that appear in it. And this is a function node, so you can write low-level JavaScript to manipulate the messages if there's not a node that helps do what you want to do. So that function is just going to attach an additional property to each message with the word positive or negative based on the sentiment node provided. Then in my flow that presents the tweets back, I add a function node that attaches a couple properties to the message. One being a message.sort property to tell the Mongo node to sort its query based on the tweet ID and to limit it to only 5 results. So that, in effect, will give me the 5 most recent tweets. And now I'm going to replace that very simple HTML list with a bit more involved HTML page, which has proper CSS styling. It's a regular HTML page, but again, it's got the mustache syntax in there to render its content based on the message it's received. I deploy and I go back, and when I refresh, it now gives me the 5 most recent tweets, and you can see the color, the green bar or the red bar on the left-hand side based on the sentiment of the tweet, with very little code written, with a bit of HTML and CSS. As Node-RED is built on top of Node.js, it can run in a variety of environments. In fact, it now comes pre-installed on the default Raspbian and Jessie image for the Raspberry Pi, and it's also available in the IBM Bluemix catalog as a quick start application, which means you can get going really quickly with Node-RED, whether it's on edge devices or in a cloud environment. To find out more, head on over to nodered.org, where there are links to how to get started, how to get running with Node-RED really quickly.
Okay,
We've got links to our mailing list.
What I want you guys to, I hope you can see my screen. You guys to go, you go to Node-RED. So this is the website. I'll just put it in the chat. So this is the website. So in your free time, I want you to go to this. So I'll just try to explain a few things. So in this demo here, you'll see the video. What they're trying to do is they have a stream of data. So their source is Twitter. So in IoT, so I want you guys to keep this in mind. IoT, we are dealing with sensor data. So that will be our stream of data. So you have a sensor sending data after every 1 second, or maybe after every 1 minute or 30 minutes. So that is just a source of data. You can have many others. So Twitter is one, a database is another. So it depends, yeah? So for IoT, your source of data is your sensor. And basically what you need to do is you need to get that data. So for now, what you need to do is just try to use that data to maybe produce an output or produce an action. But as the course progresses, I want you guys to analyze that data so that you can actually get something new from it. Okay, so that is where I want you guys to be by the time we finish this course. Either learn it through machine learning, analyze it, or extract patterns. Okay. So this is an editor. Node-RED is an editor. So it allows you to create a stream of data and then you analyze it on the web just by clicking and dropping components. Okay. So it's a free editor. So it's built on Node.js. So for those who know, Node.js is like work with it, then it's a backend. So this is also a script, but it's much capable than PHP. So it's Node.js. And then you can have it running locally. Okay, you can be running also Raspberry Pi is a microcontroller or on the cloud. So for this is what I want you guys to do. I want you to install this on your machine. So run it locally. So there are two ways to install it. Either you install it via Docker or via this other one. So Docker is a little bit complicated. So if I'm sure most of you haven't used that technology, but if you have, it's just very easy to install it via Docker because I've used it. So for you guys, just go to Getting Started when you have time. Running locally. So I want you guys to install it on your machines. Okay. So before this, so these are the instructions for installing. Before you install Node-RED, you have to install Node.js. Okay. So you have to install. So if you haven't installed Node.js on your machine, you have to install it on your machine. Okay. So these are the instructions for installing Node.js. So once you've installed Node, make sure you install 10 and above. Okay. So once you've installed, you just run this command, sudo npm. So you install Node-RED and then you'll run it. So after you install, it will run as localhost, okay? It will run as localhost and then you just go to your browser and then you start editing or designing your, so this is how you run it, yeah? And then you start designing your application. So play around with it and everything. Okay. So those are the two things that today, these two tools. So Arduino, for those who are green about microprocessors and the microcontrollers and IoT, please try to familiarize yourself with Arduino. This is the easiest way. You can learn about sensors, actuators, microcontrollers. It's very straightforward. So just in your own free time, try to learn about Arduino and how to use them. And then this is the software we'll be using. Since we can't access Strathmore and other components, we'll design everything in Node-RED, okay? And MacU, Node-RED also allows, I think it has, it will allow you to integrate Arduino into it. I think as the course progresses, we'll see if it will allow, I think it can. We'll see how to work around that one. Okay, so that's it for today's class. So any question? Okay, so I think we'll stop there for today. So you guys familiarize yourself on those two tools. We'll meet next week and we'll start the last topic on embedded systems. And then from there, now we'll start with IoT. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe.